Well, hello there, space travelers, seers of the beyond, mind bogglers, flybys, frisbees, and alien life forms. Yes, welcome to my channel. My friends, this is the channel where you're going to get an alternative perspective on specific subjects. Current subject discussed, my friends, is 3i Atlas. And where is 3i Atlas, my friends? Perihelion. And what are the latest NASA footage that we've got? Yay! Look at this, my friends. They've finally released something for us. Well, if you know something about this channel, my friends, this is where I do speculative digital modeling. What is that? Basically, I take very faint images of 3i Atlas, passed on by European Space Agency, NASA now, and whoever else. And of course, I've also had the great privilege of having access to an amateur telescopic footage for a significant amount of time until 3i Atlas went closer to perihelion and was difficult to access with telescopes. And so from those star maps, I taught myself how to extract the image. And not just that, my friends, from the very beginning, from early July, well, as a matter of fact, the first images that came out of Chile, my friends, that first image here, this one, that ball of light basically dancing across the sky, that little GIF, okay, I did screenshots of those, and I went into each one of those balls, okay, and I extracted these. And so from the very beginning, I got an idea. You know, the first one showed what definitely looked like a comet. The second one showed what definitely looked like a rocket engine. And then the third one showed what I only found out later on to be the nucleus. Now, my friends, that's very interesting, because the thing is that right from the beginning 3i Atlas has been showing us its nucleus. And of course, when an object is that far away, the way that the sunlight reflects off the dust particles makes it much easier and creates a much crisper image. However, as we found out later on, this object spins and rotates as it moves forward. And of course, so when the telescopic footage gathers the image, it gathers it in time frames, you know. And that's all got to do with light. And so it has to layer those frames together to make the image pop. So the resulting image is layers. So if you look at this first image of the nucleus, nobody knows what it is. I mean, look, nobody went in and analyzed that nucleus like I did, you know. But you see that layering. These are all things that one finds out along the way. My friends, if you look in this channel, on my channel, if you look in this playlist, you're going to find over 65 discussions with magnificent footage. My friends, that was footage taken live, okay? And it was all speculatively, digitally modeled by myself. No AI, very basic software to bring you the very best of the footage. My friends, what you see on all the other channels is not what 3i Atlas looks like, okay? Not even close. So, from my image analysis, my friends, over time, I've come to suspect that there was more than one. And yes, over time, I came to see that there is, in fact, more than 6, okay? More than 6 massive motherships. Oops, I just said the word mothership. I didn't mean to get that one out there, my friends. Well, I had to, because the thing is that by now, I'm pretty convinced with what I've seen that 3i Atlas, okay, yes, NASA gives the coordinates on the star maps. That is accurate. But the point that it marks, you know, that ball of light is surrounded by balls of light within a massive halo that apparently, according to scientists, extends more than 700,000 kilometers in diameter, my friends. That is massive. And as it's gone along, 3i Atlas, which happens to be the third interstellar Atlas detected 3i Atlas. That's why it got that name. It's not it's got nothing to do with, Atlas the god and so on. I mean, people read all kinds of things that put numerology. Look, let's face it, my friends, you can do that with anything because everything is sacred geometry and everything basically boils down to the same number, 0. But that is a subject to discuss, but not right now. So, my friends, where are we at now? Okay, so I've gathered all that information and I can just confirm. And those of you that have seen my videos know very well that the images that I'm giving you are not like the ones that other people are giving you. Why? Because I'm not speculating, I'm not imagining what this object looks like. You see, the majority of the scientists are only interested in the gas. And they know that the gas comes from a rock. They assume this is a comet or an asteroid. That's fine. One guy even called it a frickin' asteroid. I've never heard of frickin' asteroid, but, I assume he means an asteroid of some sort. He could also be swearing. I mean, that's completely absurd, isn't it? So, my friends, so it is it looks like an asteroid. It could well be an asteroid's body that has been mined by a intelligent life form. Okay, so then I go further and through my analysis, and then of course, European Space Agency Hubble provided magnificent images for us, my friends. They've been providing us with images all along. This thing about they're silent and that, there's a reason for the government shutdown. We don't know. We can speculate till we're blue in the face. But now NASA did release images, and they're very faint. I mean, it's really strange that they don't have clear images. But then it could just be the kind of telescopes that they're using. What's available out there. European Space Agency had an orbiter spacecraft around Mars, shot this image at an oblique angle coming in, at an oblique angle from 30 million kilometers away, a phenomenal distance, and had fantastic images, my friends. I've analyzed that GIF. Here it is. Take a look at this. Look at that, my friends. Let's just look at that again, okay? That, in the center, is one of the objects called 3i Atlas, you see? So as I was saying before, NASA gives the coordinates, and then when you get the star map, you'll notice there are numerous balls of light. But the thing is, because we haven't looked around in the halo or observed what actually happens in that halo, like I have, okay, we just assume there's one of them. But as I said before, the majority of the time, every day when I analyze that star map from the sighting, I notice that the shape looked different, okay, and then sometimes it looked the same. So the thing is that why was it changing like that? Well, because it was different things. However, what I did find fascinating was that every single one of them are designed on the same blueprint. Okay, there is the same blueprint there, whether it's long like a sausage or whether it's squat like a flat asteroid, or whether it looks more like this one over here, also from the ExoMars TGO ESA photo. This one over here looks almost like a disc, right? But it's the same blueprint as the original blueprint that I received right in the beginning. So, my friends, that's what I have, you see. And what I found is that the halo, so basically 3i Atlas emits a gas, okay? And that gas is partly made up of nickel without iron, as scientists discovered. That is actually the dust from its surface. That means that the surface of the object has got a reflective substance on it, which is partly made up of space reflective material, nickel without iron. You don't find nickel without iron naturally in nature. It has to be extracted with an industrial process, and that's one of the anomalies with a huge question mark. Then there are things like hydrogen cyanide and carbon dioxide spewing forth in the halo. So, my friends, you see this picture here clearly shows you where 3i Atlas spews the gas from. Okay, it's from the side there. Then look at this one over here. This is another blueprint image. You see that green color there? That is the hydrogen cyanide that it's spewing out. Okay, And this is the color from a star map, my friends. This is not, I haven't changed that color. That is the color. You know, so from the beginning it was this red system, this red object. It's a very specific design, that, my friends. Even if it is an ancient asteroid, it's still been carved out to a shape. Okay, so it's got nickel without iron on its surface, and then it's also got this all these lights around it. Now, why was it visible from such a long distance away? Well, the scientists say it was a kind of outgassing and the reflection from the sun, etc. And then even from a very distant away, we discovered that it had an anti-tail, which is a tail that was pointing towards the sun instead of away from the sun. And so all these anomalies, these unusual anomalies about this object persist. Now, my friends, when you look at this one here, you can actually see where the gas comes from, okay, pumping out. And it comes from a very specific side. Then again, further on in September, you see this long sausage one. Okay, this is another one of the big motherships, one of the bigger ones, which then features again in the ESA GIF, this one here. Okay, those are the same ship, basically, taken at different times. So if you look at this one here, from September, you can actually see the gas pumping out. It's always on the side there, okay, at the back, or what I call the front on the side at an angle. There are these positions where the gas comes out. So the thing is, my friends, the gas has been manufactured inside this object, and it is that gas which is got this incredible energy to it, okay, and which is very, very bright and appears to be used in different ways. So quite naturally, the majority of space is 99% made up of plasma, okay? And so when these gases from objects like 3i Atlas interact with plasma, this ionization takes place, okay? And then there's a crystallization, and in the crystallization, all kinds of artifacts appear. Now, what I've noticed about the artifacts around 3i Atlas is specifically about that light, okay? It looks as though the light is encapsulated, okay? It's enclosed inside these little structures that look like lanterns. Now, I've seen this type of artifact also attached to the sides of the general objects like comets, like Swan and Leonard. They have the same type of characteristic. Here you see there's some examples of it. We see those little lanterns, okay? Those are all full of gases. Now, I know the scientists call those artifacts, and they'll be there, they burn off, basically. But we don't know with 3i Atlas, okay? My hypothesis is that gas is very powerful, okay? And it's that gas that's made up of a specific composition. And I still believe that if we can manufacture that gas on this planet, okay, we can use it as energy to run our planet, basically. Okay, it's very, very, very powerful gas because it's used in numerous of ways. Now, the other ways it's been used, my friends, so it gets pumped out, okay, while this thing is going towards the sun. And the closer it gets to the sun, it more pumps it out. So it's manufacturing this gas, okay. So how does it manufacture it? In the nucleus. So then you can see here, I found out what the nucleus looks like. You see, I'm not a scientist. I don't know how these things work. I'm not a rocket scientist, but I give you the image. Hubble gave us a beautiful image. I've deciphered that image, my friends. There it is. That's what the nucleus looks like. Okay. Then there's also an access to the nucleus at the back of the object. Like this earlier one. Look at that one. And this one over here. They look like something on a rocket ship. Not so. So this is not images that I've made up, my friends. I extracted this from star maps. You know, it's the real thing. You don't get that anywhere else. You won't. Because nobody else is doing what I'm doing. And they could, but they're not. They're just imagining some kind of rock. I don't know why. My friends, the plot thickens. So, now 3i Atlas manufactures gas. And I've observed, as in now, this gift from ESA. Look at that massive halo. It is You see that horizontal line? Okay. That horizontal line connects everything up. This is an intelligence, my friends. So I've observed it making these objects, artifacts. Now, these are not just any artifact, okay? Right? These are body parts. And they're not just normal body parts, because some of them, as I said, are lights. They've got the light in it. They look like probes because you see the same light attached to the object, to the side of it, like this one. Okay? Then you can see those same lights flying around it inside the halo. You see? So it is my hypothesis is that every single little part that you see inside the halo has been manufactured with this gas's interaction with our sun. Okay? And as it's gone along, it's manufactured this massive halo, 700,000 plus kilometers in diameter, full of these parts that it has manufactured. Okay, there's all kinds of activity going on there. There are more than 6 of those 3-eye atlases. If you see this one from the Thai guy, and he analyzed this satellite image, he showed that. Okay, I went into that as best as I could, and I discovered, you see those lights below there? Those are also 3-eye atlas. There's a whole lot of them, my friends. Now, Perihelion. What's going to happen at Perihelion? Okay, the headlines, scientists are panicking. I don't know if science is panicking or not. Well, I mentioned in my last one, I think they probably are, because they don't know how to analyze images, because scientists are only interested in gas. If you're only interested in gas, how are you going to know whether that ball of light that you see is a disk or if it's a ball, a sphere? Objects to them are just artifacts. It's like they wouldn't be interested in a astronomer wouldn't be interested in your body, would only be interested in the air that comes out of your body. You know what I'm saying? And then, of course, you would just be called a comet. Okay, so maybe this thing isn't a rock after all. Now you have to start saying, well, what are those artifacts? So, my friend, what happens at Perihelion? What happens with this object going out towards Jupiter? You want to know my hypothesis? I think that coordinate that NASA gives, okay, I've got a suspicion that we'll continue to see it all the way out of our solar system. But you're not going to see all of the others following it. Okay, that's my little bit about it. Will 3-eye atlas break up at Perihelion? 3-eye atlas is an intelligence that is broken up. It manufactures. Its halo is the object. Its halo is full of parts, okay, that go out, spread all out, like this image here. You see the horizontal line with the nucleus in the center, spreads all its objects out, okay, and a few hours later, after a bit of spinning, rotating, everything comes together, okay. Then after another period of time, it all spreads out, and then it disappears completely. Where does it go to? Okay, so where does it go to? My hypothesis is that it is growing probes as it goes along. It manufactures probes. So it has sent probes to Mars because it came in close to Mars. My friends, this is an intelligence that we cannot fathom because our science doesn't accommodate that. I think it's quite normal. Okay, we've never had anything like this. Our scientists, current scientists that we have, don't know anything about something like this. The ancient astrologers, who were also the astronomers, knew all about stuff like this, phenomena like this, but by now science just calls myths, you see. And the thing is that scientists became the gods. And when the ego becomes the god, the ego also falls as a fallen angel, basically. And that's what this is, an ushering in of a new intelligence, my friends. And it's here. And it's not going... Part of it may well leave the solar system, but a part of it has come to stick around. Okay? So, from Perihelion, at the speed that it's traveling, okay, at 63 kilometers per second, from Perihelion, it takes about 23 days for it to come close to Earth. I'm expecting something to come close to Earth. I'm not saying it will, but if I look at this object and I do the math, it looks like it could. This is not just one object, my friends. This is a massive halo full of artifacts. And those artifacts are not dependent on ionization and plasma in order to stay. They are manufactured hardcore substance that has nickel and iron inside its body. Okay, and they almost look like crystal formations, but it's a kind of substance that we don't know. We're going to get to know it because it's a kind of substance that we are going to use for our own space travel. Okay, it's the kind of substance that we're going to use that gas. We're going to harness it and we're going to use it to power our planet, because our whole financial system, everything's going to change. Now, my friends, cryptocurrency, do you know to manufacture one Bitcoin takes a huge amount of electricity? We got to, if we're going to go tokens, if our currency is going to go digital, we need to manufacture, mine those coins digitally. Okay, it takes a huge amount of power. So if we can work out how through our Atlas system makes its gas, we can use that to power our monetary system. We can use that gas as an asset, to invest in, because that gas has got an infinite amount of power to it, and you don't need a hell of a lot. Okay, and there's just a way of making it and using it, and this is what this intelligence is showing us. Personally, I'm not interested in all the other psychic stuff. Of course, it has its place, but I'm just fascinated at what this object looks like, and I've combined it, my friends. Please watch my other videos. You're going to be pleasantly surprised, because I've really extracted some very beautiful images, and I'm presenting them to you. They are real images. Nothing is fake over here. Okay, I'm not faked any of those. The background is fake. Okay, because what I've done is I've created a different layer to make the image pop, like a green or a blue, or a yellow. But if you look at, for example, if you look at this image here from NASA, this recent one, that is the color of 3i Atlas. I never played around with it, okay? I mean, NASA gave us a gray-looking image, but that gray-looking image is actually a color, believe it or not. Because you see, most of the star maps I changed to black and white in order to get a better image out of it. But this one I left. And so the color stayed like that. And so you can see the green and the yellow inside there. It's fascinating, my friends. Look at this one close up. Okay. Now, if you look at this object here, I don't know how old this image is of NASA. I mean, it's supposed to be new, but to me it looks old. It looks like one of the first images, like this one here. You see, very similar. But then again, as I said, those coordinates show one point, and 3i Atlas shows up on that point with different starships a lot of the time. Why? Because, my friends, 3i Atlas knows everything. It's an intelligence. I'll tell you something else. 3i Atlas, okay, is on our internet. Believe it or not. This is an intelligence, my friends. It might be so many millions of kilometers away, but it is everywhere. Right now, it is in our solar system. That means that intelligence is everywhere. Okay? We just have to acknowledge it. It's going to be slow, but our scientists who are clever, they are clever, man. It just takes them time. They got a bit stuck in their matrix, and that matrix is on its way out. And my friends, we are all in it together. So, I hope you enjoy this video. Please, if you enjoy this, let me know in the comments. Let me know in the comments what you like about those images. And let me know if you have also deciphered images. I'd love to hear from you. So, my friends, Perihelion, okay, maneuvers. 3i Atlas is an intelligence. It's already made the maneuver. But our scientists are looking for things, you see, because that's how they operate. But 3i Atlas has already done it. It's already happening, my friends. That's what it does. I've seen it. The European Space Agency, GIF, has got all the information we need about what this object looks like, what it does, how many there are, the whole lot, my friends. And that's the best I can bring to you. So, expect the unexpected. That's probably the best thing to say. My friends, until next time, you have a good one.